Welcome to the second episode of Heal from the Hurt podcast. This podcast will be about things to avoid after a breakup. One of the first ones is begging for closure. Now, I know that you may want closure and you deserve it, but a lot of times with breakups, you don't know how the other one will react. That is one of the biggest things. You don't know how your ex is going to react to the rejection, whether you left them or they left you. A lot of times, breakups brings out the worst in people, and they may be a totally different person after the breakup. Some exes become violent, some become very possessive, and all those things. And then not only that, usually that last conversation is them either trying to convince you that you were wrong or trying to get you back or something like that, getting back with you. And if you really know that that relationship is over, for the most part, no closure is really needed. Like the disrespect that they have done to you or whatever, that should be enough. There's no final conversation or of why didn't you want me? Why didn't you treat me right? All those things. For the most part, let the disrespect, let the goodbye be enough. And if it's one of those situations where it can be volatile or an abusive type of situation, if you know that you're going to leave in advance, for the most part, a piece of advice that I would give you is try to safely remove things from the house that you know that are necessary, so that if it is a situation or emergency that you would have to leave, those necessary items are already out of the house if you guys are staying together. So that would be like my first advice. Like for the most part, I know that you would want closure. And like I said, I know that you would deserve it. But for the most part, leave it alone for the most part, because you don't know how that person is going to be. Now, if you have a cordial relationship, then that may be something else. But for the most part, immediately after the relationship, do not focus so much on trying to get closure. Secondly, watching their social media pages. I know you may have heard that a lot, but that is one of the things that will basically keep you stuck. What they say about you or what they may do, as long as it's not detrimental to you or physically harming or anything like that, I wouldn't worry about it. The people who know who you really are, that's all that matters. The people who your ex may know or whatever, and if they believe those lies, there is no way that you can convince them otherwise. So there's really no reason to go back and forth with your ex or whatever, because their opinion isn't necessary. And like I said, for the most part, if they are his friends or her friends, they're going to believe them anyway over you. There's no way to convince them. But how things usually turn around in relationships, the truth always comes out. So you don't really have to defend yourself towards those things. The most important thing is for you to do is just focus on yourself and moving forward from that moment. And a lot of times, your exes can be petty, and they may do or say things against you just to get you back on their side, get your attention, or may get you looking like you're crazy or something like that. And for the most part, if you are done with that relationship, just be done with it. Looking at their social media pages, what they're doing now, it should not be a part of your concern anymore. That's not who you're dating anymore. That's not your partner, nothing. So at the end of the day, if you really want to heal, leave their social media pages alone. Whatever is going on in their life, let it happen. Third, the blame game. That, for me, was a really big thing And all these things is things that I have done, so that's why I'm telling you not to do them. I did it so you don't have to. But the blame game. It is one thing that you have to realize the most, that it was two people in that relationship. You did what you knew what was best at that time with the knowledge that you had and the experience that you had. You did what was best. But you have to realize that you cannot change or control the other person. So at the end of the day, you've done all that you could do. Release yourself from placing all of the blame on yourself, because there was actually two people in that relationship. And there is only so much that you can do. So for an example, when I was dating my ex, I did whatever, not like in a bad way. Like we had a particular argument, put it that way. And it was a time that he came in late. And I was like, well, maybe if you came in at a certain time and maybe, I was trying to basically try to make this work some way, shape, form, or fashion. And he just plainly looked at me and he said, Tammy, I'm never changing for anyone, or I'm not changing for anyone. And it was at that moment that I knew that the relationship for me was over and I was done trying anymore. Because if you tell me to my face that you're never changing, there is nothing else that I can do. I can only do so much. But if you decide that you are never going to change and you're not going to change, and I'm not happy here with your actions or whatever, there's nothing else that I can do. And so what I want you to take from that is that there's two people in the relationship. And if someone decides that they're not going to change, there is nothing that you can do. So do not place blame all on yourself, because there is two people in the relationship. And there's a cause and effect and things like that. And I'm not telling you not to take responsibility for your actions, but that's all you can do, is take responsibility for your actions. But don't bear the burden of putting all of that on you, because what that leads to is depression and other things. It is only so much that you can do, so do not put all that pressure on yourself. Never saying don't take responsibility, yes, but you have to realize that you don't have all the knowledge that you need at the time, or you didn't have it at the time. If you did, you would have made different decisions or things like that. So one of the biggest things that happens a lot of times is that we just put so much blame on ourselves, like, oh, I should have been nicer, I should have did this, I should have did that. But you have to realize that there is somebody else involved in the relationship, and it's not just you. So do not put all that blame on yourself. And one of the last things is making sure that you don't tell everyone your story or your side of the story. Now, I'm not saying, like we said before, it's not saying don't take responsibility, don't take the blame, all this stuff. What I'm saying is, it's not everybody's business what happened in your relationship. It's about, or having to defend yourself, because for the most part, some people just really just want to be nosy. Long story short, people just want to be nosy. And what you should have, or if you can, have people around you that you can really talk to. Don't have a lot of them, but at least have people that you know that is trustworthy, that it doesn't matter what time it is. If you really, have a problem with your relationship or something like that, or, you're having thoughts about it again, that you have a friend or two or whatever that you can actually go to that are really your friends, that will help you through this, like a breakup buddy. something like that. But after that you have vented or whatever, that they help you, pour back into you and give you encouragement and things like that, or they're just a listening ear. Because like I said, for the most part, some people are just nosy, and what they'll end up doing is making the situation worse. And like I said, I'm not telling you anything that I haven't already did. So my story was, I did do that. Like, I went and just sometimes anybody who would listen. And a lot of times it just made things worse because, as you know, that what they would do is either go back to my ex, or they would sit up there and they would put things in my mouth or say things that I never even said, or things like that. Or they would say things that basically kept me stuck and kept me from healing. Now I take all responsibility for doing those things. But the thing is that when you are really trying to heal and you really realize that that relationship is over, certain things you don't need to be a part of anymore. So if you can have somebody that you trust, that is not going to go back or whatever, but if you really need to vent, you can vent to them and they can actually pour back into you then, versus just sitting there and just being nosy and not really being helpful to your healing process. So those are my tips for you to avoid after a breakup. There will probably be more at another time, but for right now, hopefully those help you while you're going through your breakup process. So no matter what, always realize that this is not the end for you. You are actively healing, and every day is not going to be the best day. But as long as you're moving forward, you are always making progress in your actively healing process. So until next time, love you guys and happy healing.